Have you ever felt like you're going crazy in a relationship? Like no matter what you say, it gets twisted against you? Like you're constantly defending yourself but never getting anywhere? What if I told you that you're not losing your mind? You're being systematically manipulated through psychological warfare. Today we're exposing the 5 most devastating mind games that narcissists use to control, confuse, and diminish you. And more importantly, we're going to explore why these tactics work so well on women specifically, and what Carl Jung's psychology teaches us about breaking free from the cycle of abuse. I need to warn you, if you're currently in a relationship with a narcissist, what you're about to hear might be difficult. You might recognize yourself in these patterns. You might feel angry, sad, or overwhelmed. That's okay. Recognition is the first step toward liberation. Let me start by saying this. Narcissistic abuse isn't your fault. These people are masters of psychological manipulation. They've spent their entire lives perfecting these techniques, often unconsciously. They know exactly how to find your vulnerabilities and exploit them. And if you're a woman who was raised to be empathetic, accommodating, and relationship-oriented, you're particularly susceptible to these games. So let's dive into the first mind game, pretending not to understand. This is one of the most crazy-making tactics in the narcissist's playbook. You explain something clearly, perhaps setting a boundary or expressing how their behavior hurt you, and they look at you with confusion, acting like you're speaking a foreign language. "I don't understand what you want from me," they'll say. Or, "You're not making any sense." Or, "Can you explain that again?" But here's the thing. They understand perfectly. They're pretending not to understand because it forces you to keep explaining, to keep defending yourself, to keep expending emotional energy while they remain untouched. This tactic is particularly effective on women because we're socialized to be clear communicators, to be understanding, to make sure everyone is on the same page. When someone says they don't understand us, our instinct is to try harder, explain better, be clearer. We blame ourselves for not communicating effectively, rather than recognizing that they're deliberately refusing to understand. From a Jungian perspective, this tactic exploits what Jung called the anima, the feminine aspect that seeks connection, understanding, and relational harmony. The narcissist weaponizes your natural desire for mutual comprehension against you. The second mind game is deflect and attack. You bring up a legitimate concern about their behavior, and suddenly you're the problem. You say, "It hurt me when you criticized me in front of your friends." And they respond with, "Well, you're too sensitive. You always make everything about you. Why are you so dramatic?" Notice what happened? Your hurt feelings, your valid concern, completely disappeared. Now you're defending yourself against accusations of being too sensitive, too dramatic, too self-centered. The original issue is gone, and you're caught in a new battle about your character flaws. Before we continue, if you're finding this valuable, please subscribe to the channel. Understanding these patterns is crucial for your psychological freedom, and we dive deep into these topics regularly. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss future content that could change your life. Now, why does deflect and attack work so well? Because women are often raised with the message that we're too emotional, too sensitive, too much. When a narcissist accuses us of these things, they're hitting a wound that's already there. We second-guess ourselves. Maybe we are being too sensitive. Maybe we are making too big a deal of this. Maybe the problem really is us. The third mind game is deny and distract. This is where the narcissist flat out denies reality, even when you have clear evidence of what happened. You say, "You promised you'd be home by 6 and you didn't show up until midnight." They respond, "I never said 6, you're remembering it wrong. And anyway, why are you always tracking my time?" That's controlling behavior. See what happened? First, they denied the clear promise they made. Then, they questioned your memory and perception of reality. And finally, they flipped the script and made you the villain for even bringing it up. This is gaslighting at its finest, and it's designed to make you doubt your own sanity. From a Jungian perspective, this tactic attacks what Jung called the ego, your conscious sense of self and reality. When someone consistently denies your perception of events, your ego becomes destabilized. You start questioning whether you can trust your own mind, your own memory, your own judgment. Women are particularly vulnerable to this because we're often socialized to defer to others' perspectives, to consider that maybe we're wrong, to be flexible in our thinking. The narcissist exploits this openness and uses it to completely rewrite reality in their favor. The fourth mind game is what I call psychic reading. This is when the narcissist claims to know your motivations, thoughts, and feelings better than you do. You say, "I'm upset because you canceled our plans again." They respond, "No, you're not upset about that. You're actually jealous because I have other friends. You want to control me and isolate me." They're telling you what you really think and feel, dismissing your actual stated experience. And often, they attribute malicious motivations to you that never crossed your mind. Suddenly, you're not a person with legitimate hurt feelings. You're a jealous, controlling manipulator. This tactic is psychologically devastating because it denies your inner authority. You know your own mind, your own heart, your own motivations. But the narcissist insists they know better. And if you've been in the relationship long enough, you might even start to believe them. Maybe I am jealous. Maybe I am trying to control them. Maybe my stated feelings aren't my real feelings. Jung believed that knowing yourself, what he called individuation, is the central task of psychological development. The narcissist attacks this process directly by claiming superior knowledge of your inner world. They prevent you from individuating by constantly overriding your self-knowledge with their interpretations. The fifth and final mind game is reframing. This is when the narcissist takes your legitimate complaint and reframes it as evidence of your pathology or as proof that they're actually the victim. You say, "I feel lonely in this relationship because you never make time for me." They respond, "Wow, so I'm a terrible person? I work hard to provide for this family and all you do is complain. You're so ungrateful. I'm the one who should feel lonely. I'm with someone who never appreciates anything I do." In seconds, your expression of loneliness has been transformed into evidence that you're ungrateful, complaining, and abusive to them. You came seeking connection, and you're leaving feeling like a monster. This is reframing, and it's absolutely crazy-making. What do all 5 of these tactics have in common? They all avoid genuine engagement with your feelings and concerns. The narcissist never actually addresses what you're saying. They never validate your experience. They never take responsibility. Instead, they deploy these psychological maneuvers to deflect, confuse, and control. And here's what's crucial to understand. These aren't random behaviors. This is a systematic pattern designed to maintain power over you. Whether the narcissist is conscious of it or not, these tactics serve to keep you destabilized, doubtful, and dependent on their version of reality. From a Jungian perspective, the narcissist is essentially projecting their shadow, all the parts of themselves they can't acknowledge, onto you. They can't admit they're selfish, so they accuse you of being controlling. They can't acknowledge their lack of empathy, so they call you too sensitive. They can't face their own cruelty, so they insist you're attacking them. So now that we've identified these 5 devastating mind games, the question becomes, what do we do about it? How do we fight back? And this is where things get really interesting from a Jungian perspective, because the answer isn't what most people expect. Your first instinct might be to fight fire with fire, to use their tactics against them, to out-manipulate the manipulator, to prove that you're right and they're wrong. But here's the hard truth. You cannot win a game where the other person makes up the rules as they go along. You cannot use logic to defeat someone who doesn't operate in the realm of reason. You cannot appeal to someone's empathy when they fundamentally lack it. So what's the solution? It starts with something that might sound counterintuitive, even painful. You need to give up hope and grieve. This is the first and most crucial step. You need to abandon the hope that this person will change, that they'll suddenly see the light, that they'll wake up one day and recognize how they've hurt you and genuinely apologize. That hope is what keeps you trapped. That hope is what makes you vulnerable to their manipulations. Every time you think, maybe this time will be different, you're opening yourself up to another round of psychological abuse. You need to grieve the relationship you thought you had, grieve the person you thought they were, and grieve the future you imagined together. This grief process is essential because, from a Jungian perspective, you're grieving not just the actual person, but also the projection you placed on them. Jung talked about how we project our own unconscious contents onto others, seeing in them qualities they don't actually possess. With a narcissist, you likely projected your own capacity for growth, empathy, and change onto them. You need to withdraw that projection and see them as they actually are. The second strategy is what's called the gray rock method. This means becoming as boring and unresponsive as a gray rock. You give minimal responses, show no emotion, provide no information they can use against you. You become completely uninteresting to them. Why does this work? Because narcissists feed on emotional reactions. They want to provoke you, to get a rise out of you, to see you upset or angry or desperately trying to explain yourself. That's their supply. When you become a gray rock, you stop feeding them. You become so dull that they eventually look elsewhere for their narcissistic supply. In practice, this means responding to their provocations with statements like, "Okay, I see. That's your perspective," or "I'll think about that." No arguments, no justifications, no emotional displays. Just bland acknowledgement, and then you move on with your day. This is incredibly difficult, especially for women who have been socialized to be emotionally expressive and relationally engaged. It feels cold, it feels wrong, it feels like you're being inauthentic. But remember, you're not dealing with someone who respects authenticity or genuine emotion. You're dealing with someone who weaponizes those things against you. The third strategy is to stop telling them how you feel. This sounds harsh, but it's crucial. Every time you share your feelings with a narcissist, you're handing them ammunition. You're showing them exactly where to aim their next attack. They don't receive your vulnerability with care. They receive it as information about how to hurt you more effectively. Think about it. When you've told a narcissist, "It hurts me when you criticize me in public," what happened? Did they stop? Or did they start doing it more? Perhaps while claiming they're just being honest or just joking around. When you told them, "I feel lonely when you ignore me for days," did they become more attentive? Or did they accuse you of being needy and clingy? Your feelings are precious. They're a window into your soul. You shouldn't be sharing them with someone who uses them as weapons against you. Save your authentic emotional expression for people who honor it. Therapists, true friends, family members who genuinely care about your well-being. From a Jungian standpoint, this is about protecting your inner world from someone who wants to colonize it. Jung emphasized the importance of psychological boundaries, of maintaining a strong ego that knows the difference between self and other. When you stop sharing your feelings with a narcissist, you're reinforcing that boundary. The fourth strategy, and perhaps the most important, is to come back to yourself. This is the heart of Jungian psychology and the key to true liberation from narcissistic abuse. You need to reconnect with who you are beneath all the manipulation, all the gaslighting, all the psychological warfare. Years of narcissistic abuse leave you disconnected from yourself. You've been so focused on managing their moods, anticipating their reactions, defending yourself against their attacks, that you've lost touch with your own inner compass. You don't know what you feel anymore because you've been told your feelings are wrong. You don't trust your perceptions because they've been consistently denied and rewritten. You don't know what you want because you've been so busy accommodating their demands. Coming back to yourself means reclaiming your inner authority. It means learning to trust your own perceptions again, to honor your own feelings, to know your own mind. This is Jung's process of individuation, becoming who you actually are rather than who someone else wants you to be. Start by asking yourself simple questions. What do I actually enjoy? What makes me feel alive? What are my values, separate from what I've been told I should value? What do I need? Not what does this other person need from me? These questions might feel difficult to answer at first because you've been so disconnected from yourself. That's okay. Give yourself time and compassion. You might also need to reconnect with parts of yourself that you've repressed to maintain the relationship. Jung called these repressed aspects the shadow. Perhaps you've repressed your anger because the narcissist punished you for it. Perhaps you've hidden your ambition because they felt threatened by your success. Perhaps you've diminished your intelligence because they needed to feel superior. All of these repressed parts need to be welcomed back and integrated. Therapy can be invaluable for this process, particularly therapy with someone who understands narcissistic abuse and Jungian psychology. A skilled therapist can help you distinguish between the narcissist's voice in your head and your own authentic voice. They can help you rebuild trust in your own perceptions and reconnect with your core self. Now, here's something crucial we need to address. Why is it so hard to give up on a narcissist? Why do intelligent, capable women stay in these relationships long after recognizing they're destructive? The answer lies in early childhood attachment patterns, and Jung's understanding of these patterns is profound. There are typically two dynamics at play. The first is what I call the child-to-mother pattern. If you had a mother who was emotionally unavailable, critical, or narcissistic herself, you learned early that love requires constant work. You learned that you had to earn affection through performance, through being good enough, through managing her emotions. You never received unconditional love, so you don't know what that feels like. When you encounter a narcissist as an adult, that old pattern activates. Unconsciously, you're trying to finally earn the love you never got from your mother. You think, if I can just be good enough, patient enough, understanding enough, they'll finally see my worth and love me. But just like with your mother, it never works. The narcissist, like your unavailable parent, can never give you what you're seeking because they're fundamentally incapable of it. The second pattern is what happens when a mother abandons the child emotionally or physically. This creates a wound so deep that the person spends their whole life trying to prevent abandonment from happening again. When a narcissist threatens to leave or gives you the silent treatment, it triggers that primal terror of abandonment. You'll do anything, sacrifice your dignity, your boundaries, your very self to prevent them from leaving. Jung understood that these early wounds create what he called complexes, autonomous clusters of thoughts, feelings, and memories that get triggered in present-day relationships. When your abandonment complex gets activated by the narcissist's withdrawal, you're not responding as an adult. You're responding as the terrified child who was left by her mother. So what's the solution to all of this? How do you break free from these patterns that have their roots in your earliest relationships? The answer lies in reparenting yourself, which is fundamentally a Jungian concept of integrating what he called the inner child with the mature, individuated self. You need to become the parent to yourself that you never had. You need to give yourself the unconditional love, the validation, the protection that you've been seeking from narcissists. This isn't just positive thinking or self-care platitudes. This is deep psychological work. When the narcissist deploys one of their mind games and that part of you wants to desperately explain yourself, prove your worth, or earn their understanding, you need to pause and speak to that wounded part of yourself. Tell her, I see you. I know you're scared. I know you think if we just try harder, we'll finally be loved. But I'm here now, and I'm not going to let anyone treat you this way anymore. This is what Jung meant by individuation, becoming whole by integrating all parts of yourself, including the wounded child parts, under the guidance of a mature ego. You stop looking outside yourself for validation and start providing it from within. You stop trying to earn love from people incapable of giving it and start giving it to yourself unconditionally. This doesn't mean you'll never desire partnership or connection. Healthy relationships are beautiful and valuable. But it means you'll no longer tolerate abuse in the desperate hope of finally being enough. You'll know you're already enough, and anyone who can't see that doesn't deserve access to you. Another crucial part of healing is understanding that the narcissist's behavior is not about you. This might be the hardest thing to truly internalize. You've spent so long believing that if you were just better, smarter, more attractive, more understanding, they would treat you well. But the truth is, narcissists treat everyone this way eventually. It's not about your inadequacy, it's about their pathology. Jung talked about projection, where we see in others what we cannot acknowledge in ourselves. The narcissist projects all their shame, inadequacy, and self-hatred onto you. When they call you selfish, they're externalizing their own selfishness. When they accuse you of lacking empathy, they're projecting their own emotional emptiness. None of this is actually about who you are. If this video is resonating with you, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel. Breaking free from narcissistic abuse is a journey, and having resources and community makes all the difference. We're building a community of women supporting each other through this process. So hit that subscribe button and join us. Now, I want to be realistic with you about the timeline here. Healing from narcissistic abuse doesn't happen overnight. You might go through phases where you feel strong and clear, followed by phases where you doubt everything and want to go back. This is normal. The trauma bond, that addictive cycle of abuse and intermittent reinforcement, is powerful, and breaking it takes time. Be patient with yourself. Celebrate small victories. The first time you don't respond to their bait, that's a victory. The first time you trust your own perception over their rewriting of reality, that's a victory. The first time you feel your anger fully without immediately suppressing it, that's a victory. Each of these moments is you reclaiming pieces of yourself. You might also need to grieve not just the relationship, but the time you lost to it. The years you spent walking on eggshells, managing their emotions, doubting yourself. That grief is valid and necessary. Don't rush through it. Let yourself feel the full weight of what you've been through. And remember, seeking help is not weakness. Whether it's therapy, support groups, trusted friends, or online communities of survivors, connection with others who understand is healing. Jung believed deeply in the power of relationship to heal relationship wounds. You don't have to do this alone. The woman you're becoming on the other side of this experience, she's stronger, wiser, more deeply connected to herself than ever before. She knows her worth. She trusts her perceptions. She honors her feelings. She sets boundaries without guilt. She walks away from anyone who tries to diminish her. This version of you is worth fighting for.